Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Amigos, the podcast about everything Amiga. Amigos is a proud member of the Throwback Network, your home for quality retro podcasts. And now, here are your hosts, Aaron Dowdy and John Bodovkar Schaller.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to talk about Wiz and Liz.
Oh, all right.
Both of them.
You know, Wiz, not the best billing of a game.
He's the Wiz
Yeah.
and he lives.
Man. What is that?
I played that. It's a Broadway musical.
It is?
And it's also a film starring Diana Ross and Michael Jackson.
I have a feeling there will be papers filed on your rendition of that. Man, we're off and running today.
So, Aaron, we got some questions that I'm going to save till the end of the show.
Okay. So this bit's back in full force now. The questions.
Yeah, the questions are back.
All right.
And so,
Don't they ever want to ask you questions about this stuff?
what do you mean?
Well, is it for both of us or just
It's
for me?
for both of
Oh,
us.
okay, good. Double question ask, I guess.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna save those for the end. But we got no other feedback this week. So
No feedback at all. They just left it out there.
yeah. So if you wanna just fire up the, what do you call it? The gamble train.
The gamble train. That's the train that heads out to Vegas. It's full of old people. You know, what is it with the old people in the casinos? Are we going to start going out when we get old?
You got all this extra money, and you don't want to leave it to your kids. That's for sure.
You know, I used to work at a casino.
Did you really?
I did. I worked at the Tri-State Greyhound Park and Casino.
AKA the only casino around.
Well, yeah, for now. But every morning they'd open this thing up, and they'd be elderly folks waiting at the door. Mm-hmm. They could not wait to get in there and get fleeced.
Right.
They got fleeced in there.
A lot of them, they wait for the first of the month for their Social Security check.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a sad.
My boss's mom spent over $1 million at that track. Lost it.
Yeah.
He's not happy about that.
What did you do with did you muck out the stalls?
No. What do you mean? Jeez, man. I worked at a print shop. I was in charge of printing stuff from the mutual section, usually racing forms. And sometimes menus and stuff like that, or like special event flyers.
Do they have? Because I've never been to the Greyhound racing part of it. Do they print out sort of like a prospectus, like you do at a horse race, where they say, these are the names of the dogs that are running, and here's a little story about them, why they're good.
There's no story. This isn't like role playing, man. This is straight up numbers, yo. We would print up mutuals for all over we print up racing forms for all over the world.
And they're called mutuals?
Well, the mutuals is the department that handled all the money. But these were forms, like, for example, we would do a Talladega might have a track. Of course, that's a racetrack. We didn't do them. But they had, like, another one I remember, Australian Downs, I think that's what it's called. We did a track that would simulcast from Australia. We did tracks from all over the country.
So do they have...
Scioto Downs and Wheeling Park and all that. We did dogs and horses.
Do they have, inside the area where the dog track is, do they have screens that are showing these other races
Absolutely.
simultaneously?
Simultaneous tracks. One thing on the TV in there, you could watch all the races. And let me tell you something, they would run, well, we're really going off on a tangent here, but they would run these horses in the snow.
Really?
They'd run them in the rain. There was nothing stopping these races from getting completed. The only time that a race was canceled almost is when kennel cough or something would come down. It would take out a bunch of the dogs and something like that. But yeah, so how do we get on this subject? Can't even remember.
The gamble train.
The gamble train. Let me whip out the gamble train. I'll be the engineer. All right.
I'm the caboose.
So,
oh yeah.
There's some interesting news here. I'm going to go over the news, and then we'll go over what's come up on the site. We had a lot of sweet action this week. So we covered this many moons ago, but it's now officially been put to bed. The fully finished version of the Amiga version of Bomb Jack Beer Edition has been laid out. It looks good. I'm gonna, now that it's final, I'm gonna have a look at this game. Now, I think we talked this before. You're a bomb jack guy, weren't you?
I like it. It fits right in with those games like Mr. Do and Dig Dug. I love all those sort of genre.
I haven't played a ton of bomb jack, but I will say I looked at some videos of this and it looks good.
Yeah.
So that's something on the list. This is sort of timely, and so this will be, by the time this comes out, I would say this will still be going, but it'll be close. And that is the Commodore The Final Years Kickstarter for the book. It's already been funded by a large margin, but if you want to get some of that action, you can get on here on the Kickstarter. The book, Commodore The Final Years book, and that's probably going to be the most interesting one, wouldn't you say? That's when it went down.
I'm always interested. The most fascinating part of any company for me is watching it slow demise.
Oh, jeez, man, that's depressing. Good grief, dude. I've been watching there's a fellow on YouTube that's put together this Atari ST versus Amiga video.
I watched that.
So
somebody
they've got
dropped that in the Discord.
This is the second one. Did you watch the second
No,
one?
I've only seen the first one.
Which was the best gaming machine.
Yeah, I wanna.
Yeah, well, I
check that
think we know the clear winner in that.
maybe.
One thing about the Atari ST, not having one and not ever really using one, but I'm going to make this comment from what I've read and what I've seen in other documentaries. It seems like that really people had trouble tapping into the full potential of that machine, which the Amiga had a similar situation. But
Yeah.
I mean, the Atari was a pretty powerful little device, and I don't think it ever really got its true worth.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I guess it just became a port machine. I guess whichever one became more popular was going to be the one that got its stuff ported to the other one. So there you go. We should mention. Oh, here's this. I couldn't wait to talk about this, but this I just found last night, and I had to laugh. I cackled when I read it. There's a way that you can take your SNES Classic, of which you believe have one.
I do. It's literally sitting. Oh, it's upstairs. I moved it
And
upstairs.
you can add Amiga games to it.
Really?
You can do it. This is I posted this video up, and it's not the easiest thing, but you can do it. Apparently they've got apparently they've found a way to kind of get RetroArch to a certain degree on that, and maybe you're more up to spec on that than I am. I was surprised to hear that, but sure enough, this guy adds Shadow of the Beast and a couple other games to his SNES Classic, and is playing them.
Huh.
So there you go.
I wonder, because I love the SNES Classic. The controller on there is second to none. Thanks again to Christopher Hassel for donating that to the show. But I do miss the ability to have some of the other retro systems on there beside the SNES and the NES. So the more that they can add to that, the better.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I mean, it just struck me as odd that you could do that. But I mean, it's kind of neat, man. I have to say.
If you can do it on the Xbox, you can do it anywhere.
Well, you're right. Really, I don't know. I wonder which one's more powerful. I'm guessing the Xbox still has more power than the Super Nintendo Mini does.
Maybe so.
But I don't know.
Probably so.
So this popped on Indie Retro News, and I think Folds is the fellow that shared it on Google Plus. There's a new game it's been in development for a long time, and by that I mean a guy worked on it, gave up for years, and then came back and finished it. I'm going to try to pronounce this: a Corralado.
That's an Eagles song.
Is that
Corralado?
No. Man,
What?
Woo, no more. So it's a new game. I've not looked at this game, but I will say what struck me as odd is the fact that it's got like a oversized. It's some kind of platformer with oversized digital heads.
Those are huge sprites on those.
Yeah, and if you look, it looks like Rambo or something is one of the heads. I mean, look at. It's a Rambo head, and I guess it's some kind of shooting game. We're gonna have to check this out, but this just popped up. You can again Folds for sharing that with us.
So one thing that we don't mention if you're listening to this in audio form is that all of the stories that we're talking about are pulled off our Google Plus page. So if you're not a member of our Google Plus page, that's where all the show notes are kept for the news. So get on there and check it out.
One thing we should probably address, I'm not sure we ever have. Why do we do so much stuff on the Google Plus page?
Because that was the only social network you were comfortable with.
That's not true. What? No. That's incorrect. Google Plus, I can access from work, and it makes it easier to transfer stuff over. So I started transferring it over there, And that's the reason. It's not Roy. I never use it except for Amiga stuff. That's the only reason I use it for. But yeah, so it's an easy thing to get on. It's a good platform.
It is. It's very good.
In this era when Facebook has gotten
Putting
into
the
some
screws,
trouble,
yeah.
getting a little bit of trouble for the privacy, you can trust good old Daddy Google.
Of course.
They'll never screw you. Come on down.
That's right.
We need what's the safest social network? God only knows what it would be.
Probably picking up the phone.
We just call all the listeners and let them know. Now, this is a strange one here. And this one I want to discuss with you. Our talkative chum, Daniel Cordell,
Yes.
shared this with me. I'm just going to read this verbatim, and then we can make it, because maybe you can make heads or tails over to the chat, or can I don't know. He says, we are now the #1 Amiga-only podcast out there worldwide. Congratulations, John and Aaron, on winning such an amazing honor. It says, and it continues. In fact, to my surprise, ARG Presents is the last place on there too. You topped it twice, and ARG hasn't even got Amiga on it.
Did you click the link to
I
see what he
did.
was talking
I did
about?
click the link, and it was a link to something called Player.fm podcast Amigas.
Yeah.
And there we are. Now, I don't know what this means.
So this means we're the most popular Amiga podcast worldwide.
That's what it means.
That's what it means.
That's all it matters.
There is no doubt about the accuracy and the veracity of that claim.
I don't know. Thank you. I'd like to thank the Academy. And I'm looking down the list here, and I see some of our some podcasts that I know, and there's a lot here I don't know. Mm-hmm. We beat Bears de Buenos Aires.
We also beat Beyond the Bike with Big Lou.
And Big
which
Lou
almost certainly is not an Amiga podcast, but it's classified as
Chisme
one.
and Chill. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm guessing that I don't know what to say about this, but I thought I'd mention it because it was so wacky.
Well, it is a great honor.
It is. To be the finest West Virginia-based Amiga show fills me with a certain delight.
It does.
Although now that we know there's so much of other Amigans around here, that they could get frosty and try to take our crown.
That's true.
And the crown's sit there waiting to be taken.
If there's one thing I fear, it's people getting frosty.
Are you mocking me, Bo?
No,
Again? You're pulling another boat. So by the way, I want to also mention, we're going to get to the site updates here. We did a Disc 2 last week on Boat's waffling on his VR setup.
Just a quick update to that. I'm back in on VR. I'm not selling it.
Beautiful. And so I called it boating it up. That's the term when Boat does this. And he found the greatest picture to represent the page of this car towing this, or mounting this huge boat on top of it. I love the picture.
Thank you.
I want to mention that to you. So let's go over what happened on the site this week. Man, good God Almighty, we got a lot of stuff. So we're going over Wiz and Liz today, and so Brutal Barracuda chimed in with his review of Wiz and Liz in his own tremendous style, as usual.
Man, Brutal needs to start doing these more often. I loved his style. Between him and Dreamcatcher,
Duncan just put that one. There's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's never been a better time to be subscribed to the Amigos Retro Gaming YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's true. It's unbelievable, and of course Huck always puts. There's always crazy stuff going on. The stuff that dwarves our pathetic entries in the field. So let's talk about, speaking of the Dreamcatcher. Dreamcatcher was a busy man this week. Dreamcatcher has an article up here on games revolving around toothbrushing and Colgate, and did you read this article? This was the craziest thing. I remember seeing these back in the day, these various games, and did you not? This is pretty
I've not
recent.
seen this. That's hilarious.
And so it's by the way, he also mentions Hugo in here. Now this, I wish I could show this to people. I don't think you can see it here.
The 1 week where I say I'm not going to put that stuff up on the screen.
This is that game I was talking about, that Hugo game, and leave it to him to bring this thing up. That's the game I've played. Remember I asked about if that was a cartoon character or something? That's what I'm talking about. So this was wacky. A little article. It's good stuff. I read it last night as I drifted off to sleep. This is the last thing I read for real. He also, Dreamcatcher also posted the script to his Kid Chaos video,
which was excellent,
which was great. Yeah. So another Brutal Barracuda offering. And he's done all these, and they've all. I mean, it's funny to go back and look at how many mailbag episodes we have. But this is another mailbag episode that Brutal Barracuda has put up for us. I believe this is the one where we get our that awesome case.
Oh,
I think it was
yes.
Tapes from the Crypts that they were just, I love it, love it, love it, love it. We mentioned that the Insert Disc 2, I don't know how much we build Insert Disc 2, but if you just want to hear me and Bo, it's basically our old pre-show. They said we just give it away and we just talk about various stuff. So if you want to just hear us ramble about crazy stuff or fight or Boat yell at me a lot, it's sort of like, every other time. So Insert Disc 2. Good, we enjoy doing that.
If you're subscribed to the podcast, you get it automatically,
Yeah.
whether you want it or not.
Yeah, we're forcing it down. We demand you listen to our various views on stupid things. We've done cartoons and we've done a lot of different stuff on there. So this one, I don't know if you read this, another Dreamcatcher article, and this is a game. I don't know where he finds this stuff. I swear to God, I've never heard of it. This is a video on a game called Baby Joe, and it's a baby platformer.
Okay.
You're a baby.
That's been done, right? Has it?
I thought you had something there. What do you got?
Super Mario Land 2, Yoshi's Island, or Super Mario World 2. You got the Baby Marios.
Baby Mario is not. This is a proper baby.
This is a real baby.
Like a diaper and everything. Yeah. So
What's that Roger Rabbit character where it's the baby?
with the cigar?
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
Yeah. It seems like there should have been a game starring him.
Maybe there was. I don't know. Let's see if we got anything else here. I know I'm missing some stuff here. My news is all jacked up. I think that. Did you put anything up this week, Boatster? Oh, you did. Yes, Boat. If you want to watch Boat struggle to, and boy, I'm not going to make fun of you, by the way, to play the Settlers. With a little help from his friends, and he doesn't. And apparently, a lot of people watch that for tips because it actually was pretty popular. I was kind of surprised.
Well, I was very thankful to the folks in the chat that were helping me out because I couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah, that's a complex game to say the least. We should also mention our sister show, ARG Presents. This week we were out with a couple winners, I think, on the SG 1000. We did Hero and Girls Garden, and I can safely say that Girls Garden is awesome.
Yes.
We love that game.
Fantastic.
And the SG 1000, you kind of delved into the SG this week, didn't you?
Yeah, I played a lot of stuff. It's another one of those systems that emulates very well, especially on the Xbox. And so it's a great little system.
That's not an easy system to get,
No.
I might away.
Unless you live in New Zealand or Japan.
Yeah, you're not going to get that thing for on the cheap. It's an expensive one. So that's pretty much sums it up. It was a pretty busy week, a lot going on, which is always good, especially for the summer. Usually things really die off. And the everythingamiga.com. Check us out. There's always great stuff on there. Please check out our YouTube channel. And we have just topped the 910, 911 subscribers, which is awesome. So if you listen to the show and have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, boy, we'd be appreciative if you'd go over and give us a subscribe. We're trying to have a moral victory and get to the 1,000
1,000 mark. Yeah.
Did you ever think we would get that many, even 900 plus subscribers?
No, you said we had 910. I was hoping we'd have 10 at one point. So.
It's we've been on YouTube now for what, about
we're coming up on the 3rd anniversry of Amigos.
And I look back on our history on there, and it really was. I mean, it was carving it out of nothing. We started out with no one ever went there because we were a podcast.
Right.
We never, so it's amazing to me that we've gotten that many people to get on board. And of course, listen, the contributors to that really are the guys that steal the show. The Amigos contributors, the Amigos family. It's like the Batman family. You've got a million various people in there. And they all contribute great stuff. They really do. So before we close out the news, I think you would like to talk about the. Do you want to go into the date and time on our Amigathon?
This is let it be known. This is the official first announcement of Amigathon 2018.
Boom.
So if you recall last year at the inaugural Amigathon, we raised money for Make-A-Wish UK. This year we're going to be raising funds for the Children's Miracle Network of hospitals, benefiting
nice.
sick kids.
Yep.
I will have more information on the website and stuff next week. I'm still getting that set up, but I wanted to let everybody know the date and the time of Amigathon. This year's Amigathon will be held on Saturday, July 7th, starting at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. So it's going to be an early start for us, but we want to make sure that give all of our European listeners as much time as possible, especially as we progress later on to the night. And there's not going to be an end time. It's going to be, as long as money keeps coming in, it's going to be the same rules as last year. For every dollar you donate or whatever your local currency turns into, we will play 1 minute of your favorite Amiga game or your least favorite Amiga game. We're perfectly willing to play hours and hours of Top Banana if you want to throw in some dough. So maybe Aaron's not.
I'm backing out.
But
oh man!
But I will have more information on that shortly. I'm going to finish up the Extra Life page today and blast that out across the social network. So you can start your donations as soon as that page is done, and we'll start filling out the schedule. Slots will fill up fast, so make sure you donate. And like I said, 100% of the money will go to the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. So. I
enjoyed almost all of last year's Amigathon. There were only two low points I can think of.
What were they?
Shadow of the Beast. That was brutal because it hit me. That's when it all caught up to me when we were sitting there trying to play that and we couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the very end of it, which I didn't like that much as well.
And there will be stretch goals. There will be an opportunity to vote for whether Aaron or me receive a pie in the face.
What? I thought we were going to do the pie.
Oh, I asked on the Discord if the pie needed to come back, and the Discord was unanimous and that the pie should come back. But however, if you want, there's going to be an option. Either me or Aaron gets hit with the pie. I think we're going to bring Chad back to do the pie. Unless, of course, I'm the one that gets hit with the pie.
I'm going to need an Amigathon for my medical bills. I'm still pulling pie out of the back of my nasal cavity from last year. Good God.
It's always a lot of fun. We're going to have a rotating cast of guest characters coming on.
Guest characters, wacky. We get some people on. We'll probably get Chad come over and Brent will stop by.
Both Chads.
Yeah. Maybe
hopefully
get John
John
up here. Yeah.
So it'll be a good time right here in Amigo Studios in the heart of the summer, the heart of the sunrise.
Yes.
And so anyway, Amigathon 2017 coming, or 2018
Be
coming
there.
soon. Be there.
Be there.
Aaron?
Yes.
It's time.
It's time
to talk Wiz and Liz.
All right. I'm ready here, Boat. Now, I have to say, before we get going here, had you heard or played Wiz and Liz before this? Before they got picked for us?
Never. Yes, I played both of these games very briefly.
I see. And who was the person requesting this particular game?
The person that requested this particular game was Pixels at Dawn.
Pixels at Dawn. So, again, Wiz and Liz. This came out in '93, Boat. So it was, right in there. 2 discs. And it was published by Psygnosis. Well, we love Psygnosis.
Psygnosis, known for their very difficult games, which makes this game so surprising.
Yeah, and this was developed by an outfit called Lunatic for the Amiga, which we'll get into that in a moment. And they were responsible for 2 games. And one game, the name I thought was interesting. They did a game called Cytron, and they did another game called Necronom.
Oh,
yeah.
Necronom, right here in the chat with us.
So I don't know. I'm assuming is that where you got your name, Necronom? We'll let him digest that.
Isn't that the book too?
The Necronomicon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's the Book of the Dead, but that's a whole other game. So again, you can play 2 players, up to 2 players, and 2 players simultaneous. Which I bet I didn't get to play 2 players this, but I bet it'd be pretty fun. The artist on this was a fellow named James Thomas, and he was also did Necronom. This was coded by a fellow named Martin Hall, who also did Necronom. So we may have to check out Necronom at some point.
Necronom in the chat right now says that his name, it comes from H.R. We say Geiger. I guess the real pronunciation is Giger's name for the alien. So that freaky alien.
There you go. So this was out on the original hardware, ECS, OCS. Nothing special, nothing crazy. This was converted over from the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis. Now, Have you ever played this on the Genesis? No. I not either. So the concept of this game is actually it's very cute, isn't it, Boat? So the premise of this is there's a little opening movie that comes up. It shows a bubbling cauldron in the woods and a bunch of bunnies hopping around it. Something bubbles up, and basically the bunnies disappear. And you play either Wiz or Liz, and you're tasked with finding and grabbing as many of these bunnies as you can, if not all the bunnies. And to do this, you have to go into a sort of a roller coastery land with a bunch of doors in it that go to different levels. So the premise right away is wacky. You're after, and by the way, it's not rabbits, it's wabbits. Let me get that right. Like and you wascally wabbit.
Elmer Fudd style.
Yeah. So one thing I like with this game straight away, first of all, it's got a lot of character just in a little movie, which is very cute. You're a wizard, or an enchantress or whatever if you're Liz, and so what do? You do wizard stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So before the game even starts, you've got this the screen has a house with a big bold bubbling cauldron that's as big as the house. Mm-hmm. And so what do? Well, heck, to do anything, you got to whip up a spell. So you go and harvest a couple spell components. You put them in the and this is a sort of a teaching moment for the game. You put your spell components into the cauldron. They bubble up, and then for the very first screen, it ends up opening up a door that lets you go to where you need to go to the different levels. So right away, it's taught you that you can use this cauldron to bubble up spells, which is cool. So then what do? Well, you go to this level, and there's a bunch of different doors, and they're labeled. There'll be snow, and there'll be sand, and there's one called like temple, and there's one called dead.
You know what it reminded me of? There's another game that uses the same sort of world selection system, and that's the Kirby games, the old Game Boy and NES Kirby games. You select a world by just going, opening a door in the world selection zone.
Right. So I guess Wiz and Liz are the only two people that live on their planet, which is hilariously named Pum. Pum the planet. Yeah. So you've lost your bunnies. You've got to go get them. You've got to go to these different worlds. So this game is very strange. Let's go over why. Number one, there are no enemies. I mean, except for end bosses, there are no enemies. Every level, you cannot die. All right. Which is that in itself is real unusual. Mm-hmm. You also really don't have weapons or any sort of offensive. You don't need them. All right. All you're tasked to do is get these wabbits, and to get the things the wabbits tend to drop. Okay. So when you go to a level, let's just for example, the first level I went to was grasslands, and there's just a simple background. It's usually several different like hilly platforms, and you see a bunch of wabbits. The first thing you got to do is go and get some wabbits enough to and when you get a wabbit, they will drop a letter at first, and then you, at the top of the screen you'll see a word like verboom, for example, just a mystery word. When you get enough letters to spell it, that's when you can actually start gathering a number of wabbits you need to finish the level. So if it says vaboom, you spell it, then it'll say 20 wabbits. And there's a door there, but the door is blocked. You can't go out until you get 20 wabbits. It's simple. It's not hard to understand. You go through and grab all. See how it got me doing it. Grab all the wabbits, and then once you've got the number you need, you can leave. And there's a timer. Your enemy in this game is time. If you don't grab I did it again. If you don't grab the number of wabbits you need in time to open that door, then that is how you will lose a life.
Right.
It's that simple. And it sounds like you're thinking to yourself, this seems like a lame, easy game that is not that much fun. I had to say it. For a concept that's so simple, it actually is quite a bit of fun. The wabbits will appear. More wabbits will appear as the level goes on, especially when you need a lot of them. And so they're running amok everywhere. And the time situation makes it a very frantic game, especially when you get to the later levels and you have to collect a bunch of wabbits. And occasionally you'll come to a level where you have to get all the wabbits. There isn't you can't leave some. You got to get every single wabbit, which that could get real nasty. So once you have, and I should mention that aside from shooting letters up out of the wabbits, also occasionally fruit will come up out of the wabbits, and a few other things, and the stuff when you catch a wabbit, the item will start floating upwards.
Kind of like Bubble Bobble.
Right, and they float really slow. Mm-hmm. So you could actually sort of like, what I would do is like go at a lower level, clear a bunch of bunnies, and then move up to the next level, clear a bunch of bunnies there, and by that time, hopefully all the crap that you didn't pick up before will have floated up to the next level and you can grab it then.
Right.
There's also places you can jump up in the air and jump and get stuff that's really high. Some stuff just floats away, you don't get it. There's no penalty for not getting stuff once you've spelled the letter, but it's points you lose. And once you've gotten the number of wabbits required to leave the level, you go through the door, and it has a summary screen that tells you how many certain types of rabbits you got, how many certain types of fruit you got. It adds up all your points, and then it adds them to your score. It's pretty simple. When you finish that level, it puts you back to your home screen. This is where the game gets a little more interesting, because on your home screen, you're back to where your pot's at, and whatever fruit you picked up in the last level will be there, and you can mix up some new spells. Now, I started on training. I don't know if did you play training or I went with training. On the training levels, there is no store. All right, so whatever fruit you got in your little area, you could pick it up, put it in the pot, and then you get a spell. And there's some just pretty generic spells. Like sometimes the spell will be like you get extra 2,500 points, or bunnies are worth more.
Or there's more time.
There's more time, right? On training level, they were all pretty simple. When you go up to the next level, it gets more interesting because there's a store, and so you can go to the store and you can buy and sell various spell components and get the spell components you want to put in the pot. And after you do it for a while, you can start to sort of write. I can see where someone would take notes.
That's exactly right.
And write down all the different, because I mean, there's a bunch, and some spell components don't work. They don't do anything. Some do some crazy stuff. Now, I did not write them down. I just kind of wanted to
I never had any situation where it didn't do anything.
I did. Yeah, I had some where it didn't do anything. And I don't know about you, but I was going to the store just randomly buy a bunch of crazy stuff. Pickle and banana, for example, or potato and whatever. Sometimes you'd get like a diamond. Sometimes it was just a payout. One time I got this thing where it spun like the wheel of stuff. Did you ever get that one? It took me to this screen where it was just a ring of items. And the ring spun around, sort of like the ARG wheel, and whatever item ended up with, you get that item. So that was pretty cool. There are some spells that'll open up like a mini level you can go to. Did you ever have that happen?
No.
Yeah, like it's like a bonus level where you run around and collect fruit or whatever. It was
that's
pretty
awesome.
cool. Yeah, the spell component of this, it's like it adds a lot of fun to the game.
Yeah,
it really does.
It takes what at its core is a very simple game, and it adds a huge layer of depth to it.
It also, like I said, you can use those. The spells can give you like extra men. It can give you extra time. It can do a bunch of cool stuff. That was probably my favorite part of the game, was that trying out different spells. I'm sure I could have went somewhere and downloaded a list of every spell, but I kind of wanted to try different stuff.
Yeah.
So it made it a lot of fun. I once the store opened up, I ran through the training levels and completed the game in training, which for me, amazing. I couldn't believe I did it. So this game, in terms of the Amiga games we've played, I would say is not the hardest. That much said, when you go up in level, I mean, it absolutely changes the game and makes it much more difficult.
This game does exactly what I wish every Amiga game did. And that's at the easy level, it's actually easy. So
Yes.
if you want to experience what it's like to play the game to its completion, you can do so without too much trouble. Then if you want more challenge, the challenge is there for you.
Yeah.
Every Amiga game, every video game should be like
Yes,
that.
I mean, it was so refreshing to start this game out, watch the opening video, do the training, figure out what I was doing, and then move up to the next level and be fairly competent, having only played for a little while at the second level and then moving up. the various levels you go to are the graphics are nothing to write home about. I mean, your Wiz and Liz are pretty small characters. The stuff's pretty small, but it's not painfully small.
No. And for the smallness of the sprites is outweighed by the speed at which the game runs. The game runs very smooth and very fast.
Right.
You never get any slowdown. The characters are animated well for their size. I wish that there were more variations on the Wabbids. It would have been cool if they would have put different animals in for different stages. But overall, the game I thought looks very good for what it's trying to do.
Yeah, it had they had some jaunty tunes that played in the background.
I like the music.
They were totally fine. The fellow that did the music has done a few other things. It really had two musicians. They had a guy named Mike Clark. You'll remember him from a couple of the games we've already covered.
Him and Buck Owens.
Yeah, no, that's Roy Clark. Mike was responsible for the music in Hired Guns and Last Ninja 2, among others, which we've covered. The other musician was a fellow named Rick Eady. He did the music for Brian the Lion, and then another, I love the name of this one, Innocent Until Caught.
Wow.
That sounds great. And he also did Nigel Mansell's music. So these guys had some prior experience and did some other stuff. And the music is good. I thought the music was pretty good. At the end of, not on training, but once you're off training, you will, when you end the first set of worlds, every set of worlds you end, which means you go into every door and clear the bunnies, you will have a boss fight. This is where Aaron ceased his forward momentum. I had trouble with these boss fights. The one I fought was on the first level I was on was a giant snake. Did you ever have any luck on these things?
It's funny. I played a ton of this game. You can see from the stream, and I never got to a boss fight.
But you have to clear every world on a level above the slowest level.
I was doing something wrong.
Yeah. So the boss, and I will say the boss fights and strike me as odd. And of course, I watch video of people getting further than me. So this is a pretty peaceful game, and then all of a sudden,
are there no boss fights on the easiest mode? Is that
in training there is no boss fight?
Maybe I did do training and I thought that was easy.
Yeah,
Okay.
because at the end of that one, you just like you win.
Right.
You're like, hey, yeah. No, it's not like that in the other one. So, you've got the first guy you fight. It was this giant cobra, and I mean it's jarring. You're like, I'm Wiz. Yeah, everything's awesome. Holy God! It's this massive cobra, and he just beat the tar out of me and killed me. And then game in, Amongst the other bosses, there is a giant pumpkin, which I saw, and there's also a giant clock.
Okay.
The fights are the only point in the game where you actually fight anything, and basically you can shoot a beam of magic at the boss that does damage to it, and you just have to avoid being hit. I did not perform well, but again, the bosses really kind of blew my mind a little bit. I think I would have come up with something else, to be honest with you. I mean, boss fight's fine, but it's weird. Just like the Cobra really seemed out of place in this game. It didn't. That was kind of weird to me. But I mean, overall, it's a simple game. It does have a competitive. There's a competitive 2-player mode, so which I didn't get to try the 2-player on this, but I'm sure the 2-player is pretty good. I watched it being played, and it looked like it was pretty fun. I like the idea that it's got simultaneous 2-player.
Oh yeah,
not something you see all that often on a game like this. It seemed like it would work pretty well. I guess my biggest takeaway from this is, I mean, it's a simple game. It's easy to play, and for the most part, you could probably let your kid play it, and he could pick it up pretty quick. I'm going to actually show my kid this one when he gets back from Granny's, because it's a game where there's no violence, there's no shooting. And you're rescuing bunnies. So, what could be nicer than that, Bo? So, what did you think of this thing overall? I mean, where do you place it?
This is Amigos episode 145.
Oh, yeah?
I think. And the amount of games that we play on this show that I would actually go back and play again, I can probably number on one hand.
Oh, one hand.
And this is one of those games. I love arcade action. I love simplicity, and I love easy. And, even at its higher levels, Wiz and Liz is a game that you can make some progress in. I like the tunes. I thought they were cool. I like the characters. I like the speed. This game was great. I was very surprised. I didn't remember liking it as much when I played it originally back on an Amigos Plays. I thought that every aspect of this game was well done. That said, I didn't get to any of the bosses, so I can see how that would be a jarring experience, and that might color my my perception of the game a little bit.
I mean, it's definitely not a deal breaker. Let's just put it that way. I mean, it wasn't something that like killed the game for me or anything. One of the things I looked at, again, this was I had a home on the Genesis as well. I had a look at the Genesis version and actually played it a little bit too, and it plays well. The Genesis version actually is probably, I would say, better. Did you play this on Genesis at all? Or
no. I'd be interested to check it out though.
This reminds you. Remember in Addams Family on the Amiga? It just for whatever reason they just left out the background. They did that on this too. In fact, I'll tell you exactly what it reminds me of. It was BC Kid. Remember when BC Kid, the TurboGrafx version had that moon and the stuff in the background? This also has a hideous, ugly to look at moon. I mean, with a face. I mean, it follows you around. It's exactly like BC Kid's moon. And but the stars are nice. The music is real nice. Graphically, it's probably. I think overall, it's just a better quality of game.
They probably put more effort into it because they knew it was going to sell more than the Amiga version.
They may have. I don't know. But the moon, I'm not sure which one I'd rather play, just because the moon is so ugly and disturbing that again, just exactly like BC Kid.
That's hilarious.
It's not as bad as the moon and BC Kid, but it was a needless addition. Let's just put it that way. But I mean, the Genesis one was pretty well received.
And you got to think too that whenever they were doing a console port, they knew that they had to up their game. I mean, what's this game going up against? That's
I think this was actually ported from the Genesis to the.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it went the other way.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so kind of wacky. Yeah. But it's hard to say. That's the way it was reported, that it was that this came over from the Genesis. So maybe just thought, well, we'll just knock this out. Maybe it was easier. I don't know what the story was.
Interesting.
So. Review-wise, this reviewed pretty well. Amiga format gave it a 77. Amiga Power gave it a 78. AUI gave it an 83. And CU Amiga gave it a 79. So it's somewhere in that B to C range.
Which I think is a little bit
low.
The
one gave it an 86. Well, it is a very simple game. I mean, in its core, it's manic. You know what it sort of reminded me of is... it's one of those. I was thinking when I played this, since it's all left and right action, and jumping, you could have almost used a trackball to play this game.
Interesting.
And I thought to myself, for the amount of bunnies, it sort of reminds. This is a weird comparison, but it reminded me a little bit of like a Crystal Castles in a way. You're just going around and gathering and stuff, and since you'd only need to be going left and right with a jump. You really could use a trackball and it'd be manic. You could really go nuts with it.
That's interesting.
I mean, I could be off my nut here, but I'm just saying. But I like the manic gameplay. The timer, like there are sections, like one of the drops you could get from one of the Wabbits is like a thing that like gives you a bunch of time and the screen flashes. And I remember getting that a couple times at the last second.
Oh yeah, it's
when
very
I beat
exciting.
The training level. I literally went into the door with no time left, and I was like fist pumping.
Right.
Yeah. Why didn't I record this?
Yeah.
I was so excited. But the training level, you can beat it your first time out, but that's what a training level should be.
Right.
There are two different difficulty settings, and I don't know exactly how they mesh. But there's a level select, and there's also another like
it's
a
like
skill.
taxing or yeah.
And so I thought that was interesting. You can see we're looking at the video now. That's the snake you're fighting. I mean, that's weird compared to. I mean, it looks cool. But
I can see how that would have caused because I mean it looks sort of generic too. Like that could have come out of any video game.
Yeah, and the boss fights still have a great rep. Yeah. Apparently, they're pretty simple for people that aren't me.
Yeah, so I can see how that would have perhaps negatively affected its review score.
But so I mean, I think looking at these scores, the low being 77. The high being 86. So I'll take a B-level game. Yeah, I can see it. That's about right. Lemon, the people at Lemon give it a score of 7.95. So just about in that same area, B, C level. But I mean, it's fun. And again, it's a good game that you can play with let your kids in and play it, or you can play with them. There's that aspect to it as well. On eBay, I looked around. I actually found the discs for sale in the U.S. Just the discs, $20. In the UK, again, they're plentiful.
Right.
But you're going to be paying anywhere in the box from between 33 and 66 bucks.
Was this on multiple discs or was this one?
Two discs.
Two discs. Okay.
Germany, I saw a couple going between 22 and 57 bucks, and Australia, I saw one that had sold for 14 bucks. So you can get them; they're out there, but they're not super cheap. You're going to be paying a few dollars. But overall, one thing I wanted to mention. It's a shout out to our good buddy Old Chad. The designer of this game was named Martin R. Chudley.
Oh.
So there's a guy named Chudley walking around, which is his nickname. Also did Killing Game Show, which is something we'll have to cover sometime. Another Psygnosis game. But overall, fun game, lighthearted romp, which I desperately needed.
Yeah, well, we thank Pixels at Dawn, Amigos Game Selection Committee member.
Good choice.
For choosing this game. And we'd also like to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. We're running a little bit long on time in this episode, so we're going to save these questions for next week, where I think we'll have some more free time at the end of the podcast. But I would like to thank everybody that helps make this show happen. If you'd like to support Amigos, you can go over to patreon.com/Amigos podcast, and you can add yourself to this illustrious list. Now, Aaron, the challenge has been thrown down by one of our listeners. I believe it was Daniel Cordell, who watched the episode where I gave you the first name and you supplied me with the last name, and he said, "Well, I bet Boat can't do it." So the challenge has been met. So you're going to read me the first name.
I get to be the quiz master.
Yeah,
today,
and
okay.
I'll tell you the last name.
Okay, are you ready,
I'm
Boat?
ready, and you don't have to be in order, whatever you want.
Okay. I've got to do them in order because I'll never. Are you kidding me?
That's true.
So I'm going to read you the first name.
Yep.
Okay. Dan.
Ross.
Okay. Leaf.
Killand.
Alan.
Kebab.
Donald.
Tyler.
Level.
Lord.
John.
Marshall.
Matthew.
Perron.
Ricky.
DeRocher.
Creepy.
Dead Boy.
Figgy.
CTZ.
The.
Slow Norris.
Stefan.
Mortensen. Sigurd Mortensen.
Yep. Edmund.
Helland.
Blindo.
75.
And you're killing this, Boat. I'm going to give you credit. Christopher.
Hassel.
Ravi.
Abbott.
Chris.
Foltz.
Dream.
Ketcha.
Laurent.
Giroux.
Graham.
Webke.
Brent.
Dowdy.
Lane.
Lane Denson.
Adam.
Battersby.
I thought I had you.
Or Bradley. Brian's Retro and Vintage.
Gary.
Hucker.
C.
Brian Jones.
Are you cheating somehow?
I'm looking at this picture of Charlie Brown.
I can't believe it. Paul.
Harrington.
Duncan.
Styles.
Anthony.
Jarvis.
Tapes.
From the Crypt.
You got to use the voice.
From the Crypt.
Josh.
Nan.
Will.
Williams.
Adam.
Battersby.
Try again.
Bradley. There's two.
Jonas.
Rulo.
T.
HT.
Eric.
Nelson.
Kim.
Tommy Humbertstad.
Daniel.
Bingston.
Brutal.
Barracuda.
Darren.
Coles.
Jason.
Warrens.
Pixels.
Pixels at Dawn and Kilbjorn Barman.
Man, I got to give you credit on that, dude.
Thank you. Well, I care about our patrons.
Obviously, you've memorized all. There's a lot of names.
There's a lot of names on there.
Hey, that was straight up. There was no cheat. I can't believe that.
Thank you.
Golly, Ned, that's amazing.
I'd also like to announce the
We're
winner
impressed.
of last week's Patreon song contest. So we're taping. That's weird. The printer just kicked on.
The printer wants to play.
The last week we're taping 2 episodes back to back today, so there's no Patreon song contest this week. But last week the winner of the song was the theme from The Adventures of the Gummy Bears.
Which I've never watched.
So of course you haven't. Edvin Helland, Duncan Styles, Pixels at Dawn both guessed the English name, and Figgy CTC and O'Brien's recognized it as its proper Norwegian name, Bumpibjorn.
Bump. That's what they're called over there.
Yeah, Bumpyjorn.
There's always got to be an O with a thing through it.
Oh yeah, that's required by law. So congratulations, Figgy CTZ, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Edvin Helen, Duncan Styles, and Pixels at Dawn
Very
for getting that
impressive.
correctly.
Yeah.
We'll be back with the Patreon song challenge.
I can't
next
believe they
week.
got that one. That's obscure. The Gummy Bears theme. I think
It's not that obscure.
When I think of the gummies, I think it's like, remember that song, I'm a gummy bear.
That's
I'm
obscure,
a gummy bear.
and that's dumb.
We used to use that to put my kid to sleep. He used to love that song.
Boy, I know why he has so much trouble.
He doesn't
getting
need, what do
through
you
the night.
need trouble? What are you talking about?
That would terrify me.
I'm gonna sick him on you. You're gonna lose an arm, sir.
Yeah, that's true. So next week, Aaron, we're going to continue on the Amiga train with
The gamble train.
the gamble
keeps
train
on rolling.
rolls through with the Settlers.
The Settlers.
Yeah.
Now I've played the Settlers of Catan a bunch of times.
This is. It would be wonderful
It's sort of similar, right?
kind of.
You gather raw materials to build your village and your cities.
Yeah, I mean it's practically the same thing. So we record every Friday, except when we don't.
Which is this next month. It's crazy time.
But you always click that little bell beside the subscription button, and you can get notified whenever we're recording. You can join the friendly folks in the chat, just like Pixels and Don, Duncan Styles, Paul H, Brutal Barracuda, Necro Nom, Chris Folds, all these guys. There's always a party in the chat room when we're recording, so feel free to join us. And also, don't forget that if you want to buy some of this awesome Amigos apparel, you can head over to tpublic.com/stores/AmigaTees and purchase some. We also have stickers, wall art, tote bags, everything. There's everything over there.
Stuffed animals, shot glasses.
That's right. And
skis, everything.
And finally, don't forget to check out our sister show, ARG Presents, where we discuss 2 games on a different classic system every week.
What do we got coming up next week, Bo?
This next week, we are going to be talking about games on the illustrious BBC Micro.
That's going to be... That's going to be out of control, Bo. That's the noise for our short circuit right there.
That's actually the startup chime with the BBC
Holy
Micro.
smoke, that's what that is?
All right, guys, we will see you next week for the Settlers. Until then, adios.